Hi, my name's Andy Crutchfield, and I'm the Senior Investigator for Advanced Protective Services. Welcome to Advanced Protective Services Tidbit Tuesdays. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to talk to you for a few minutes about the differences between surveillance and counter-surveillance, and more importantly, what triggers the transition from one to the other. Surveillance at its core is simple. It's the deliberate observation of a person, place, or activity without being detected. The goal is to gather information on things like movements, contacts, habits, locations, or behavior without influencing the target. Think of the surveillance as watching a chess game on a chessboard quietly. You're not moving pieces yet. You're simply observing how the other player moves. In private investigations and security work, surveillance might include watching a subject's residence, tracking their movements to meetings, identifying associates, or documenting behavior. It can be done on foot, in a vehicle, through cameras, or through digital means. But the key principle is remaining unseen and, most importantly, uninvolved. If the subject never knows you're there, their surveillance is working. Now, let's talk about counter-surveillance. Counter-surveillance is different. Instead of just observing, it's detecting, confirming, or defeating surveillance. It's about determining whether someone is being watched and then taking the necessary steps to expose or break that surveillance. Counter-surveillance is more active and more analytical. You're no longer just watching, you're testing the environment. For example, if someone believes that they may be under surveillance, they may do a couple of things. Things such as changing routes unexpectedly, or stop suddenly, or enter multiple businesses. They may circle the block, or watch reflections in windows and mirrors. Those behaviors are designed to flush out the watcher. In security and protection work, we often teach personnel to look for the indicators of hostile surveillance. Things like repeated sightings of the same individual, unusual loitering, someone taking pictures, or vehicles appearing in multiple locations. Now, the big question is, what triggers the move from surveillance to counter-surveillance? The shift usually happens when one side believes they may have been detected or when risk increases. For the person conducting surveillance, certain things signal danger. Maybe the subject suddenly changes behavior. Maybe they start looking directly at the surveillance vehicle, which is never a good sign. Maybe they circle the block 3 times. Maybe they walk into a building and immediately look back out the window. Those are potential surveillance detection maneuvers. When that happens, the investigator has to make a decision. Do we continue the surveillance, reposition, or break contact? If the risk of exposure becomes too high, the operation may move into a counter-surveillance mindset, where the focus shifts from gathering information to protecting the operation and confirming whether the subject has detected us. On the other side, if a person being watched believes that they are under surveillance, their actions trigger counter-surveillance behavior. They may deliberately test whether someone follows them. They may use crowds, traffic, or buildings to create breaks in that observation. They may change transportation or direction without warning. In other words, they're trying to answer the question, am I being watched? And once someone confirms that they are under surveillance, the dynamic changes completely. At that point, surveillance may be compromised and the observer may lose the advantage. That's why experienced investigators understand something important. Good surveillance is boring. The best surveillance operations are slow, patient, and disciplined. The moment things get dramatic, someone is probably going to get burned. Finally, I'll leave you with one principle that applies whether you're conducting surveillance or trying to detect it. Patterns give people away. The same car, the same face, the same behavior, appearing again and again. Surveillance succeeds by avoiding patterns, and counter-surveillance succeeds by finding them. So when you think about the transition from surveillance to counter-surveillance, remember this. Surveillance is about collecting information quietly. Counter-surveillance is about testing and exposing observation. And the moment someone suspects that they're being watched, that's when the game on the chessboard really begins. Thank you, and thanks for tuning in to Advanced Protective Services Tidbit Tuesdays.